Welcome to the Folio Sightlines blog. I'm Greg Vigrass, President of Folio Institutional, and I'm glad to have with us today Sterling Shea, Associate Publisher and Head of Advisory and Wealth Management Programs for Barron's. Sterling has led Barron's advisor initiatives since the publication began ranking America's top financial advisors over 10 years ago. Among his responsibilities, Sterling oversees the publication's advisor-related activities, including content, conferences, and programs geared towards elite practitioners spanning the independent, consultant, and national full-service channels. Welcome, Sterling.
Thanks, Greg. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us and taking some time today. Sterling, you talk with a lot of advisors about what it takes to grow their business. I'm sure many of them are contemplating how to work with multi-generational clients. What are some of their concerns, and what are some of their solutions?
Well, I agree that it's a big issue out there right now. And when we talk to advisors that I would characterize as being in the upper quartile of the peer group of U.S. wealth managers in terms of organic growth success, that aspect of multi-generational wealth transfer and the implications of that within the families they're working with is a very high priority issue. Their concern is that when the patriarch or matriarch of the families they're working with relinquish the wealth management decision to the younger generation within those families, typically the younger generation seeks a different source and the advisor loses the account. Industry-wide statistics are very low regarding retention rate through multi-generational wealth transfer control within client families. So that's the point of concern. The solutions that they're talking about that we hear most frequently are less about the details in gaining a relationship with individuals and younger generations. That's a part of it, but it's much more about creating more authentic multi-generational appeal within the business. That often means incorporating younger team members, presenting and conceptualizing the value that a financial advisor can bring in different ways, and really going deeper to understand the needs and how those needs might be different for younger generational investors than their parents.
And what do you see as the most important intersections between business insights, such as knowing what your business is, who you intend to reach, and where you want the business to head in the future, as well as how do you contemplate growth in that respect?
Well, business insight, I think, is paramount to success. One of the great big trends that we've seen recently in the wealth advisory marketplace is this shift towards professionalization, which I think you could characterize as the shift from a mentality around it being a practice to the mentality of it being a business that requires a more strategic approach to managing that business and professionalizing different functions within it. Business growth, as you're talking about in that context, requires a long-term, thought-through, and strategic marketing and business development plan. It can't be accidental growth. It needs to be based on a specific market expertise, a niche, a target that's really well identified, and a strategy for increasing awareness within that target market group. So the idea of the accidental growth or the incidental growth, I would say, I think is falling by the wayside as the best advisor teams put a lot more structure, detail, and strategy around developing plans for growing their business.
A quick follow-up question to that. Do you see that professionalizing of the business being an emerging trend or something that is in fact being embraced by the advisor population at large?
Well, that's an easy question, but it's not an easy answer. We see pockets of the industry, and I'm talking across channels right now, where that kind of awareness and professionalization is accelerating, and it's particularly accelerating where high organic growth is being evidenced. There's a large part of the industry for whom the need to grow is not acute. More lifestyle-oriented businesses where the advisor doesn't have the will or wherewithal to strategically reinvest in the business, and there isn't a lot of growth. So the need for professionalizing isn't as acute. But where you see advisors that are seeking to grow their business, where they're trying to provide deeper value to more client families, you see that professionalization trend really accelerating in importance. So that's happening across all three channels of wealth management, but it's select pockets, and it's probably, in our mind, maybe less than a quarter of advisors in total that are really gearing their business to be more professionally managed.
Great insight. Thank you. Let me shift gears on you a little bit here. Coming out of IMCA's 2016 annual conference, you spoke with 3 advisors who successfully carved an entrepreneurial path. Can you share some of the steps they took, some of the challenges that they faced?
Yeah, one of the consistencies, and what I thought was interesting about that panel, is you have 3 different people with very different structures, different models, but very consistent stories about what their path to success looked like. And one of the elements that was consistent across all 3 of their stories was this idea of strategic team development as being the moment that really was a turning point in the evolution of their business. And the moment they realized that they need to scale their operation, and to do so in a really meaningful way requires infrastructure, it requires specialists, it requires more talented people in different functions across the business. And the moment it dawned on them that, hey, we can't patchwork together a collaboration of a couple advisors, we need a real team that's managing across all different functions of a high-performing wealth management business. That was the dawning or the turning point, the breakthrough moment, so to speak, for all 3 of them. Is that shift to saying it's not all about me as an individual advisor and trying to funnel more resources to help me as an advisor do more. It's more about what we can accomplish as a team together. And that was, I think, incredibly interesting and really emblematic of the best thinking we see out in the industry, is that moment that it shifts towards a team mentality.
That's great. So here's my last question. What is the role of media today in not only creating awareness, but educating clients?
Wow, that's a great question. We spent a lot of time thinking about that question here at Barron's Magazine. We see our role, and I can't really speak for the rest of the media world, so to speak, but we see our role as a unique opportunity to both celebrate and cast a spotlight on what we see as the very best practitioners within the wealth management arena. From our vantage point right now, wealthy families in America have never needed nor been willing to place as much value on quality financial advice. But at the same time, they've never been more empowered to judge the quality of the advice that they're receiving. So if we see our role as an opportunity to both celebrate and bring positive attention to the role that a talented financial advisor can provide a family, an individual whose acumen and passion and skill can really help create more positive, sustainable, good financial outcomes for families, we want to bring attention to that. I think too much of the media still focuses on the bottom 1% of the industry, the criminal element, the worst of the lot, so to speak. We see our unique role as one to bring attention to what the very best people are doing, with the hopes that by illuminating the great work that they're doing, maybe we can play a part in raising the standard of excellence in wealth advisory as the industry continues to evolve and serve a wider breadth of American consumers.
Sterling, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
I enjoyed the conversation, Greg. Thank you.
We've been speaking today with Sterling Shea, Associate Publisher and Head of Advisory and Wealth Management Program for Barron's. If you'd like to receive more insightful tips about growing your business, sign up for Folio Institutional's blog at info.folioinstitutional.com/blog. Neither Folio Institutional, its parent Folio FN Incorporated, or its sister companies have a contractual relationship with today's speaker or his firm. Folio has not compensated our speaker in any way for this interview.